There we go.
Not all at once, everybody.
Why are we being shy? We all know each other really well.
Okay. Huwag kayong mahiya, ha? Maging walang hiya kayo, ha?
Maybe someone could start out with the story. Sometimes the stories are better.
I mean, I guess, like, just to start it off, it's like, I mean, and I already posted this, like, one of my favorite memories of Glenn is, like, making him angry, you know, when we play Mafia kind of stuff, you know, just we purposely kill him on the third round. Not the first or second, because we you know, we give him a false sense of hope. And then we kill him on the third round. And then, like, he'll donate his car. If I'm Mafia, I'll give you my car, you know, all that stuff.
That's right.
That's how he's won a few times, honestly.
Oh, he's won a few times, definitely,
Yeah.
for sure, of course. I mean, even a broken watch is right twice a day. So, like, you know, Glenn will eventually be Mafia. I remember that one time he was Mafia, and then somebody, like, picked the cards wrong, and we had to reshuffle, and he got really mad because he was finally Mafia. Right, and then the next round we killed him. On the next when we did the reshuffling, we killed him anyway because we're like, what are the chances of Mafia again? And he's like, and so just you know, pissing him off is always kind of neat, kind of stuff. And then the best memory of us playing Mafia is when we were at Pastor Lisa's house, and the real cop showed up because we were so loud, you know. And because Glenn was screaming, I'm not Mafia, you know, he was screaming his head off. So, but you're like, and then he's like, and then he would be like, you know how, like, he'll be butthurt for like a while, right? And he's like, you know, I wasn't Mafia. Oh, I knew you weren't Mafia the whole time. And he goes, so why'd you do it? Because you can, you know? I mean, Mafia is not the game that brings friends together. Definitely not. So,
No.
And I guess the sad truth about it is that even though I know we will all see him again in heaven, we can't play Mafia with him anymore because we can't lie in heaven. You know, I mean, like, he'll know everything. So it's like, now we can't play Mafia. That's what's the sad part. I can never piss him off in that level ever again. So,
TJ, you're reminding me, and this is a good springboard question. What is your earliest memory of Glenn? So when, I think TJ, he made you cry.
Yeah, he claimed that he made me cry. So I will say this, that he's making me cry now. So, I'll say that, but he keeps telling me that he pulled the string out of my hoodie, and you know, like, when you pull that out, like, how do you put that back in? Like, I don't know, right? You have to open it up, and then, you know, and so he was. If he did that, I don't actually recall that memory. I'm calling BS on that one. So, Nico, you were saying something, brother?
No, I just said in heaven yet that before you play Mafia, they deal the cards face up. But the crying thing is actually another good segue to my memories of Glenn. Like, what I loved about Glenn is no matter what, even if it was like reading, you know, the Bible verse during sermon, he cries no matter what. He cries, and I loved it. Like, we would be sitting in the pews, and we'd be like, "He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it." And we'd be like, you know, he'd start off strong, and then it'd be like, you know,
he's like a puddle afterwards.
For God so loved the world that
he gave his only son.
And it was like amazing, and I love that about him, because he was just so, like, you know, emotional, because it's connected to how much, like, his, you know, it struck him. And I love that about like his passion for, like, God and, like, serving and stuff like that. So, but it was still funny. Like,
it was so hilarious.
Like, I loved it. And yeah, so that's mine.
That's a great one, Nix.
That is a really good one.
I have
go ahead.
So Cleveland was my first counselor at CI 1999. Very, very long time ago. Nikki and I were in the same counselor that we met. And Cleveland was teaching us about our worth by using a dollar bill right? And he did that thing where he crumpled it and tore it and folded it and taught us that no matter what, the dollar bill retains its value, right? So no matter what happens to us, we are also valuable in the eyes of God always. And then at the end of that session, he gave us a $20 bill and told us to spend it however we liked. We went to the gift shop and assembled a mug filled with various candies. And when we presented it to him, his face just crumpled up and he burst. It was so moving. But all of that is to say he was so genuine and vulnerable and did a lot to shape me as a person. He really didn't hide his feelings.
No.
I think he cried more than me, and I mean, I cry a lot, but he was just really
He's like, welcome to CI. That's Glenn. So what surprised me about that story is that he actually has dollar bills. I mean, I would think his smallest denomination would be $20, right? I mean, Mr. Baller. So, I mean, he had $1 bills. I mean,
he did.
he even knew what that looked like.
Still have that. He wrote on the dollar bill for me, and I still have it framed. Actually, he wrote down that message. So.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I still have the. Actually, that's probably my first memory of Cleveland. That's when I actually met everyone, you know, from Rosewood, and actually when Ira and I became friends because we were in the same family group. And whatever Ira said.
Is that the same CI where we scared you guys?
Yeah.
Probably.
No,
Yeah.
that was a different one.
Which one?
Which one? Is that like when Glenn wanted to take a photo by the moonlight? He didn't believe us.
That was like way after, but yeah.
She's married. I forgot we read her.
Yes.
So yeah, that was actually my first, what I shared is my first memory of Cleveland. And I still also have that dollar bill. And, you know, lately I've kind of been, you know, in a flux. A lot of change has been going on. And just a reminder of how much you're valued and how much he valued our friendship. Because I didn't call him that much, you know, I didn't see him that much. But, you know, it was just nice to know that he was always there. And it's just kind of weird knowing you can't call him or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's a great impression of Glenn. That was pretty good. No? All right. Is that the line behind me now? Okay, got it.
I think I wanted to just say, I would been wanting to say a lot of things, but Glenn loved us all. It's, you know, hands down. And I think what really hit me was Ashley, Nico, Kevin, your dad's memorial. I got to sit next to him. And the last couple of years has been really hard for Glenn to just get from one place to another.
Yeah.
And it's just, you all know, it's like the chore just for him to get up and maybe I could do this for half an hour and an hour. And he's all, are you sure you want to sit next to me? Because I'm going to take a long time to get up. I go, well, I'll just stay with you. And he was struggling that day so much, but he wanted to be there. And he talked about, he was able to move dialysis and, you know, and he was still feeling bad that even though he went to my mom's, I guess the viewing, he couldn't make it to the funeral. And that was just Glenn's heart. And he was the one suffering probably the most. But just, he tried so hard and he just wanted to be there for all of us. Can't say that a lot about our friends, you know, friends, but, you know, so just, I miss him.
Yeah.
So I was over at the DMV with Mateo, taking his driver's permit test,
Well, that makes us feel so old.
Yeah.
I know. Mateo's going to college, guys.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mateo's in college now, so my middle one is in high school, and my youngest one's in middle school. So.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow.
So I get this text from Grace, and says, hi Crew John, I don't know if you heard, but Glenn passed last night, and I was telling Grace a few days ago, kind of. It hit me all at once, because I have this very specific period of time in my life when I think of Glenn, and a lot of you guys in the chat right now are in that. I'd say it's probably from the late '80s to mid '90s, because that was the time where I had most of my interactions with Glenn. But I look at that, I think about that time, and it's such a really special time for me. And whenever I think of Glenn, he's actually one of the first faces when I think of that. And so when Grace told me it really just, I remember just being speechless. And I don't have any one specific, I have these miscellaneous memories of interacting with Glenn and what we did. But I know that in part he represents this really special time for me at Rosewood and with all of you guys. And I know that I miss him. I wish, I saw him last over at Kevin, your dad's services. I didn't see him at the viewing over your mom's race, but I saw him, and I remember thinking that he was struggling, but it was so good to see him, as well as so many of you there. But I will miss him. I'm still at times, I don't say I'm reeling, but I think about him often lately, because I really I miss those times, and so I'm glad they have things like Zoom, and I'm glad that all of you guys who are here are here. So, and I love you guys, and I really miss Glenn. And Mateo passed his driver's test, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh yay!
The written. he still needs the practical, the driving one, but the written's passed.
Wow.
Okay, I have a funny story, I guess, maybe to me, but I think we were all at Ruby's wedding, or it was a wedding.
It was Ruby's, I think, because we were
Was
at
it
the same
Ruby's?
table.
We were all at the same table.
All right, that's
And I remember,
yeah.
oh, so, they were playing old school songs. So John and I were like, oh yeah, this is a good song. That's a good song. And he was there sitting. And of course, okay, Stevie Wonder's Ribbon in the Sky, which I love and he
Great.
loved. But Glenn was like, why? Like he was just, he just could not understand why the song was so good. I'm like, oh my God, but it's Stevie Wonder. And he was like, I don't get it. And so I was like, great. Now the song no longer is like, oh, it was always me talking about it with Glenn. And so now every time I hear that song, it's like, Glenn didn't like this song. Instead of this awesome song, it's like, it's Glenn did not like the song. So,
Oh my goodness.
So now you all going to hear that, and it's going to be a good one too.
No, it's like for us, it's kind of like Glenn is so like out of touch with movies, right? Christian, you remember this, right?
Oh, no.
So when I remember, like, he was like, dude, I want to see that new movie. I'm like, which one? He goes, Shakespeare in Love. And I'm like, bro, that's been out for like a couple of years now, man. And he's like, has it? I'm like, well, yeah. And then he wouldn't believe me. I had to actually like look it up online, and like, and this like the internet was not as great as it is today. But like, I finally found it. I'm like, yeah, it's like, oh, how come I didn't hear about it? I'm like, I don't know, bro. I'm not their marketing guy, so I don't know. But yeah, so he's So there's like certain movies that he's never heard of, and I'm not surprised that he's never heard of Ribbon in the Sky. So I'm not surprised that by at all. So.
But it's Stevie Wonder. I
I
mean,
know.
I know.
Look, you can.
We're not that much older than him.
Look, it doesn't. No, Stevie Wonder is a timeless one.
Yeah.
No. I'm with you, Joanne, on that one. I'm with you on that one. So. The one. Go ahead, Christian.
I was just about to share my earliest memories of Glen were mainly when I started going to Rosewood, it was because of my Ninang Minda and Ati Lisa, which I was hoping she'd be on, but I guess she'd have stories to tell about Glen for
I
sure.
don't know what happened.
She keeps in touch, like it's sporadic.
No, I know. No, we've been talking, and then anyway, go on.
Yeah.
Recording. Sorry.
I told you this. There's no way she knows how to Zoom. So
yeah, probably.
I'm just glad she's got Facebook. Okay, so she has no way to know how to Zoom. Hey, Lisa, you'll eventually watch this. Yeah, I know you don't know how to do it. Someone else that I showed you, but that's
she'll figure it out by the time she watches the video. So.
I know exactly. So.
But yeah, some of my earliest memories were mainly just how welcoming everybody was in the youth for Rosewood, because at the time when I started going there, it was kind of just a very lonely time for me as a kid, because I would go to church with my mom. She goes to, she still goes to the church. She goes to Grace Community Church in North Hollywood.
Wow.
Yeah, she's been going there for like years. But we'd never really been part of the congregation or all that involved, and so going to Rosewood was just such an awesome experience, because I actually got to talk to people my age. And my earliest memory of Glen was and also I guess Kuya John, was just the fact that they would actually pick me up from my house, and I'm just like, people would actually pick me up to go all the way to LA to, because it's not like I live in the valley, so it's not like as if I'm along the way or anything like that. And it's such an amazing thing, because I'm just like, wow, this guy has a car, and he actually uses his car. I was in high school. Yeah.
That was our bus, man. The Camry.
Yeah. Glenn drove everywhere. Like he's just willing to drive people everywhere, no matter what. And when I think the first time I went to a youth thing, I think Glenn was driving, and it was just, I think it was me and Ella sitting in the back, and I was just meeting a lot of these people for the first time, and I was just surprised, because it's just like the fact that I don't expect a lot from people, because I grew up as an only child from divorced parents, so I was out on my own a lot, but I didn't realize that people could be so kind, that weren't my mom, and all you guys exemplified that, but especially Glenn, because it's just every time I can't think of any time where I've seen him, I've seen him frustrated for certain things, but I've never seen him angry at somebody. I've never seen him like he's just always been willing to go above and beyond for anybody. And and when I even first heard of him having to be under dialysis, I was just so hurt, because I was just to know that he had to go through so much pain, for such a long time. And and in a lot of ways, I'm just so glad that he's in heaven with our Lord, and I'm so happy that he doesn't have to feel that pain anymore and having to go to dialysis so often. So I can never think of anything bad to say. Like, we always have funny stories, but it's just he just, like, I always saw him as such a role model for what it means to be a Christian, what it means to be sacrificial for people, and live for people. So, and then he's always so in your back, Grace. But yeah, he's always just exemplified that no matter what. So
I think that was that Bible study when we had at Ella, where we ran out of rides, so Glenn had to take people from Ella's house and then take them home and then come back and pick up the rest.
Yeah.
Stuff. I mean,
yeah, he drove everywhere.
So I mean, Glenn's the only person that I know that has a 10-seater for a Camry. So
that car was huge.
I mean, it's just like, wow, that was amazing. So yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite memories of Kuya Glen and Rosewood in general, is that Ata Grace, Mono Kevin, and Kuya Glen were the three people that always drove the youth around. And especially going down to Santa Clarita, where I grew up.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ata Grace and Kuya Glen and Mono Kevin will always drive my brother and I to and from like youth events and stuff like that. Like Ata Grace, you would even sleep over sometimes.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I was so tired.
It's like
So far.
Yeah, it is far.
I just remember like, yeah, how accommodating and how welcoming everybody was.
Well, I think Glenn. I mean, if there's anybody that understood how important it was for us to be together, it was Glenn. That's why he was willing to go out of his way to go as far as he needs to pick us up and take us home, kind of stuff. So, and let's face it, let's just be honest. And Christian, I know you shared this. This is one of your favorite memories of Glenn. We wouldn't even be allowed to hang out if it wasn't.
That's just it a few weeks ago.
Yeah. So, now we're not allowed to hang out anymore. Now that Glenn's gone, we won't be able to hang out anymore. Hey, Sam.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Actually, real quick side note on that.
Seeing everybody.
This involves Glenn, but also everybody here. I was very proud of how Rosewood mastered the car caravan.
Yeah.
Yeah. The walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was always the locomotive, and Glenn was always the caboose. It was like a snake, and then whenever foreign cars would come in, we would know how to like retract and speak.
Just to kick them out of our group.
Everybody would be together.
It would just be like a snake.
Hockey game was strong, man.
Our caravan game was very strong, very impressive.
Yeah, so.
But especially with I have so many stories, but with Sam and Austin joining, I'm still processing this. It's been tough just with how everything's been going for me, but my relationship with Glenn has spanned so many like lifetimes. So on this call, there are like 4 or 5 different generations of Rosewood that basically me, Glenn, and Tej went through. So I'm just thankful for all of those times that we shared.
Yeah, it's really great to have this opportunity to have this time with you guys. My husband has never met Glenn, and with COVID-19 stay-home orders, I mean, I don't see my parents, so there's really no one around me right now who knew him, and I can talk about, what a great guy he was, and really kind of understand what a loss it is that he's gone. And so only you guys sitting around this call right now, can really relate. As Christian said, as Chris said, he drove us around everywhere. And because of that, a lot of my memories of Glenn are just these epic long conversations because of these car rides. And he was always so mature for his age. He's not that much older than me, but for a long time I called him Kuya Glenn because I just perceived him to be so much older and, had everything together and so wise with all his, advice and his insight into things. We talked about everything from school to relationships to what's the meaning of life, kind of thing. And it's just really hard to process right now that, to know that he's gone. The last time I saw him was at Nico and Kevin's dad's memorial service. But at that time there was talk of us, gathering again, getting everybody together.
Oh yeah, the reunion.
Right, exactly. And I was really looking forward to it, and I didn't think that would be the last time that I saw him. And it's just, I wish I could have seen him again one last time. And I wish I would have had, more exchanges with texts with him. I mean, we kept in touch periodically through texts, but he just never, I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
Hard.
So like when Kevin and I found out that Glenn was sick, we took the first time I talked to him, I could feel how sad he was. And of course I can only imagine, right? I mean, he felt like he felt really broken. So I remembered, I called Kevin right after that. I said, Kev, we got to do something, man. And so I know that Kevin and I decided to take it upon ourselves to check in on him more often. And we did, actually. And one of the things that I did was I called him at least once a week. You know, and one of the great things about Glenn was that I called him and he would always ask me, so what's going on with so-and-so and what's going on with so-and-so? And I'm like, bro, why don't you finally get a Facebook? You know, I mean, like, everybody, I mean, Lisa has a Facebook. You know,
He has a Facebook.
like, Lisa has a Facebook. And he's like, no. And I think he did that because so that we have something to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I told him, like, dude, Facebook is free. Oh my gosh, dude, get a Facebook. Don't put your real photo. Put a fake name, whatever, you know. But it's no cats. Or sorry, don't like cats.
For you, TJ.
Yeah, I know you did that on purpose. But yeah, so but Glenn, you know, I mean, that was one of the things that we did. Like, I know Christian, you and I, we've talked about this. Like, we're the ones updating Glenn on what's happening on. And then he goes, "How do you know all these things?" Oh my God, Glenn, how many times I have to tell you? It's through Facebook. You know, it's through Facebook. But then I actually talked about that in one of the live videos I posted a couple nights ago. Somebody actually posted, like somebody commented, who doesn't know Glenn at all, said that, you know what, I think your friend was smarter because he didn't let Facebook be the connection.
Yeah.
It forced us to be connected. And if there's anything that this is what's definitely teaching us, especially with this pandemic, is that, you know, the connection that we have with each other is precious. And one of the things I truly believe this is that, you know, we'll always make new friends. We'll always have new relationships throughout the rest of our lives. But we're never going to have another set of childhood friends. This is it. You know, it's never going to be anybody else in your that has known who you are when you were a kid. There's nobody else. You know, and that journey is unique and precious, and it will never ever happen again. So just to kind of reiterate what that person who commented said, that yeah, let's not let it be Facebook that keeps us connected. You know, so if there's anything, I'm glad, I'm happy that I talk to Glenn once a week. I'm very, wow, what was that? I'm sorry, guys. I think it was somebody outside of my house. I'm very happy that I talk to Glenn once a week. I'm very happy and very blessed that we talked about random things. And, you know, I have long drives myself, so I would talk to him over the phone just to kind of keep me awake, kind of stuff. So, when
I would visit Glenn, we would talk about TJ.
Yeah, I know, right? So, one of the, I guess one of my, what's hard for me right now, what's hard for me right now is that, as you guys, many of you guys know, it's been a tough couple years for me, with my adopted sister dying, with my ordination process being questioned, with my mother being sick. It's been a tough couple years for me, and on the lowest, on even if not the lowest, but I'm definitely on the lowest and darkest days, Glenn would be the person I call. You know, and now, like after the day we found out that Glenn passed away, I only called a few people. That's all the energy that I had, to call a few people, let them know that Glenn passed away. And I just kind of, and then I retracted into myself, and I would go to sleep just because I wanted to not feel this way. And I would wake up and I would still feel that pit of despair, and I would pick up my phone to call Glenn. But I can't. So it's like that split second that I forgot that he's gone. It sucks. It just sucks. And you know, Glenn not working and me, you know, working as a martial arts instructor and everything. I could talk to him in the middle of the day on a weekday kind of stuff, you know, and yeah.
And I think for those of us that knew Glenn, he was just such a rock. Like, you could just depend on him no matter what. I mean, at any point and ask for anything, and he would give it. So definitely a huge loss.
Hey, Zerny.
Hello. Yeah, I think one thing about Glenn, I mean, all the like think about him a lot, but even when I had already started telling him, hey, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be going to church here longer after CI. I have to move on, and for whatever reasons I had for moving on to where I wanted to worship, what was important to me, he always told me, I just want you to be happy. You deserve to be happy. And even though I was the one that left, in reality, Glenn always made an effort to contact me. And I just remember, you know, when my mom was sick all of last year, it was always Glenn just checking in. How are you guys? How are the brothers? What do you need? And then I would talk to his mom. So then I'd learn that he was in dialysis more often. And just Glenn was so selfless. And he always wanted everybody else to be happy at his expense. That's what I felt like. And no matter how much I contacted him or checked in with him, it was never, you know, I felt enough. And even when we wanted to visit him, he would be like, oh, no, we can't, let's wait. Or he didn't really want us to see him when he wasn't well because the dialysis was so hard. But that's just one thing about Glenn. And I knew, and I haven't shared this with anybody, towards my mom's, as it was getting worse, Glenn for some reason kept contacting me, which I was like, does he know? Or he just knew, he just needed to check in to see if we were okay. And, you know, so when I heard, I don't know, so many people texted me. I was like, whoa, is this real? This is not happening. And my heart sank because I, you know, felt like, oh, I wish I would have known, or wish I could have just had a prayer with Glenn. But I know that Glenn is looking over us right now, and I know he's rejoicing. And in fact, today I went to go visit my mom because her birthday's Wednesday. So usually it's Sunday, we would have had a party at Rosewood, those of you that know, right? So, and so I just felt like, wow, he represents a time that was really a fond memory of being at Rosewood. Just, it just hit me, especially today.
At the beginning, when he when he first had his kidney failure and he was really going through a really dark, low time in his life, you know, there was a pretty long period of time where he just, if you'd call him and ask when we can visit, he'd always be like, never, now's not a good time, maybe next time or whatever. So I think me, Tej, and Christian, at some point, we were just like, we're never gonna call Glenn, we're just gonna go.
Show up.
And you're just,
I do it all the time.
man, because you know you're not going anywhere. So we would randomly just drop in and go see how he was doing. And I think that for me, that's the hard part, is that the biggest loss I think for Glenn in this in these last years was he just lost his ability to serve and to just be with everyone. And I think that's what crushed him most. He didn't have the physical strength anymore to do that. So I remember for me, it was really hard to visit him at the beginning, because when I'd go to see him, I remember one time I saw him at the hospital, and he just, you know, you're going through dialysis, you're 78 years old. This is not like a young man's. So it was really hard for me because I'd see him and he'd look older than his dad, Uncle Fred. And I was like, this is not Glenn. But then you'd spend an hour or 2 hours, and then like the veil would be lifted, like the darkness would be lifted off of him, and I could see Glenn again, and then we'd be talking about stuff. And you know, that would be, I was probably hard on him at the beginning because he was the big brother that I never had, and I was just like, Glenn, you got to fight through. But I mean, I can't imagine what that trial felt like to go through firsthand. but then at some point it was just a matter of just being there for him. And I know that Glenn and Christian, you guys felt that same. Just we were just gonna bug him and just keep him up to date with how everything's going. For me, it's really tough because I mean, I was just naive, but I was thinking that this was gonna be a chapter in his life, but not the last one. So I think I took it for granted. If I was thinking seriously at all, I would have just fought through COVID and with a bullhorn outside his door or something, just try to visit one time. But like a lot of you guys, my dad's memorial service was the last time that I saw him. And I was surprised too, because Saturday is his dialysis day. So I wasn't expecting him to do that. And he never does anything like that for that long. I know that physically wrecked him. But that's Glenn. Like he will break himself on our behalf. So I've been very blessed to have such an awesome big brother in my life.
I remember talking to Glenn about this because like when Auntie Lita died, when Grace's mom died, he told me I have to be there. And I'm like, okay, I think Christian, we talked about this, like, all right, like one of us will pick him up and the other one will take him home, right? Yeah. If that's what we need to do. It's not a big deal, right? And he went to the viewing for Grace's mom, and I think your dad's memorial was on a Saturday, right, Kev, Nico?
Saturday.
Yeah, so he was telling me that he was having a hard time moving his dialysis on a Saturday. Yeah. And I told him, I'm like, and I was telling him, like, look, I know Kevin and Nico enough that they know that you love them, that if you can't go because of dialysis, they will completely understand. Because the issue was, it's like one of two things gonna have to happen if he changes his schedule. Either one, that he would have to have dialysis twice in 2 days in a row, or he'd have to skip one. That's the only way so they can get back to the normal schedule. And the insurance company was not going to pay for two dialysis 2 days in a row. They were not going to do it. So I told him, like, they will understand, Glenn, if you don't go. And he said, no, I'm going. And so he got, as far as physical toll that he was ready to pay for, that's what that was. So that means he had to go an extra day and just feel it, that, just so, and then wait till his next dialysis, which would have to be a lot longer just to offset it, just so that he could be there for each and every one of us. So, yeah, but that's Glenn. He'll give you the shirt off his back. He'll drive you for hundreds of miles, and he'll sit with you in silence, and he'll talk to you to mask your tears. So.
I remember on that day, I told him he looked good. At my dad's memorial, like, he came up to me, and it's hard, like, my brother and I, more my brother, because his relationship with Glenn was a lot closer, but Glenn was just, like, we're dealing with a lot of death, obviously, and, like, when you deal with stuff like that, you think about last conversations, right, a lot. Think about the last time you talked to him, the last time what you said and everything. And I remember at my dad's memorial service, he came up to me, and I think I was holding Kian, and I was like, say hi to Uncle Glenn, like, say hi, look. And then I was like, what's up, man? And I was like, you look good. And I was like, how are you doing? And he's like, I'm okay. And I was like, that's good. I was like, are you doing better? Like, are you feeling better? He's like, yeah. And then, short conversation, catching up, because there's so many people there. And then, but I do remember, I was just like, I miss you, man. I was like, I miss you. I love you. And he's like, I love you too. And, like, so I remember saying these things to Glenn. And I remember, and I'm thankful for that, because what we're learning, and my brother and I, like, you just never know. Just never know, like, what the last things will be said. And I'm just glad that I did express, because it's been such a long time since the Rosewood days. And so when you are back in that mind. Like when I'm around you guys, especially the older kuyas and ates, like you become that kid again, right? You embody, like in your mind, you're just like, okay, I'm 14, right? And it's just like, and you feel that way, and you feel so enamored, and like you look up to our kuyas and ates, and like that's how I felt whenever I talked to like Glenn or Ate Grace and you know, all the olders, and it's like, you know, just that memory of him. And I still remember his laugh. So I'm like, the whole time we're talking about it, I remember his laugh is echoing. And then also the please believe me in Mafia, like that's the stuff that echoes. But I do remember, like, at my dad's memorial or celebration of life, I did tell him he looked good, because I did think he looked good. And I know that he just telling us the story, the behind the scenes of what he sacrificed to be there for us. And I think I love him even more for that, because that's just such a testament to his character. But
it's a very Glenn thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what? When he got to the church, he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, Kev, what do you need me to do?" And I was like, "Sit down." So he was like, he started helping, like, folding programs.
Oh yeah. So yeah, he did help. He was with Erica and he was folding programs.
I was like, dude, I'm gonna make you lie down right now on the floor. Just relax.
Oh my gosh, he was.
And I remember that, now that my brother's mentioning it, after the service, Nico and I gave a testimony, and I cried a lot. And then after the service, Glenn came up to me and was like, "Kev, I didn't know you cried so much." I was like, in my head, I was like, "Do you want me to make you go up to that pulpit right now?"
And read a verse. And just read one verse.
I'll pick Eddie's hymn. We'll see who cries a lot. Yeah, now that we're talking about it, that my dad's memorial service, that was such a blessing in disguise, because that ended up being the last time a lot of us got to be with Glenn for a good amount of time and connect with him. So I'm thankful that at least that took place, so that we have a recent memory of him this year.
I feel like the older ones we've been monopolizing. Anybody else want to share some of the?
Share something, if that's okay.
Of course.
No, just briefly. I mean, from everyone's stories, and as well as like my friendship and with Kuya Glenn, I think one of the words that I would use to describe him would be constant. You know, before, when I came from the Philippines and started going to Rosewood, he was there. When I started becoming more active in the youth group and the youth and young adults group, he was there to support us. When I left Rosewood temporarily, when I went to college, throughout those 4 years that I'd visit Rosewood, he was there. And after graduating and going back to Rosewood, he was there. So it's like he's been that constant. And I think that's one of the best adjectives to use. And he's not just a constant in Rosewood, of course, from everyone's stories, a constant in our lives. And the last time I saw him was also when we celebrated Uncle Bing's life. And I'm glad I saw him even just very briefly that time, but still trying to wrap my mind around this whole thing, because I found it out a few days ago. And so I'm just still trying to wrap my mind around this whole thing, because 2020 has been super crazy. So, but I'm glad I saw him that day too. But it's just one of those constants in our lives that's not here anymore. But like Kuya Chris said, he's no longer in pain. And so, so I just wanted to share that he's been that constant, I think, in Rosewood and each of our lives too. So, thank you.
Thanks, Carla.
Yeah, thanks, Carla. I just want to say it's pretty amazing that how much everybody's grown. Because a lot of you I haven't seen in years, honestly. So, yeah, especially the younger ones.
Hair wise, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, your hair is a lot longer.
Dude, that's some crazy COVID hair, brother.
My background.
I know, right? Your background.
Your background. Yeah. Others want to share that we haven't heard?
I think my last conversation with Glenn was what do you call? I tried to buy his car.
Yeah, you told me about
Your what?
I tried to buy his car.
Which
So
one?
I called the Cadillac.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I was like, COVID, like, you know what, let me call him. I think I called him last week. So I tried to buy his car. So we'll see. That's always his answer is we'll see.
That's his way of saying, you know, you're not buying my car.
That's his way of saying you can go now.
Yeah.
I usually harass him because I used to I gotta go to the bathroom because my commute's pretty far. So I'd stop by his house, or at least every once a week I'd call him. It's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm at your front door.
Oh my God.
He just walks out. I was like, oh, or I just knock at his window. I think with Glenn, I think the last conversation was I wanted to buy his car, and all of a sudden I get a service call, so I had to get off the phone, and then what do you call that? And then TJ calls me on. Usually when I get calls after midnight, before 8 or before 7, I already know what's going on. So I had a gut feeling of what was going on, but I was still kind of like half awake because my shift doesn't start until I wake up, and it's like, oh my goodness.
Are you really at Gardena?
No, I was at Gardena PD because they want to borrow me.
Oh, okay.
So I'm getting loaned out by multiple law enforcement agencies.
You're being pimped out.
I am being pimped out. I am being pimped out. And Glenn likes to like the internal politics of the sheriff's department and the board of supervisors, and he keeps bugging me about. It's like, I don't even know what's going on in my department. So
dude, Glenn is a chismosa, dude.
He keeps asking. I mean, he would give me statistics. It's like, dude, I don't even know who these people are. and then he would give me like reports, like, dude, I'll look at it when I get home, or I get to the office and ask any of my buddies. And I think one of my favorites with Glenn is I made him cry watching a movie with TJ, and I made him get a movie membership on VHS. He just knows what it is. It was Labskita. It was Labskita.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I made TJ and Glenn cry, and Glenn has a membership at a video store in Cerritos that he doesn't.
Video store?
I didn't have a credit card, so he had a credit card, so he used his at his address.
Oh my gosh!
I remember we watched it as a youth group. Like I think it was at Myra's house.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, and I brought over Francis Enriquez because that was when I was hanging out with him. So yeah, so talking about blast in the past. Right?
Or when I've seen Glenn angry when he played Posoy Dos. It does get personal.
Yeah.
Glenn is so competitive. Oh my gosh, he is so competitive.
He is really competitive.
He is.
Oh.
He gets personal with Posoy Dos.
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. He goes. There was one time he did get angry, and this was during like the peak of Rosewoods when we had this is when we were bringing every CI. We always have at least 30 kids, right? One weekend's like, oh, we brought 25 kids. I'm like, oh, that's cute, right? That's just like the standard, you know. That doesn't even count the counselors yet, right? So, but there was a disagreement happening within the church. I don't remember what it was anymore, to be honest with you. But there was a disagreement, and I was explaining my point of view, and everybody kept cutting me off, right? And then Glenn got so angry that I was sitting on this I don't know, this sofa seat or whatever, and then
I'm still there.
Yeah, he kicked it, and I jumped out. I'm like, what the hell? And he goes, listen to DJ, bam! And I'm like, well, you didn't have to kick me, bro. to get that, but he was really angry because nobody was giving me a chance to speak, and then that's when everybody just kind of like quiet. We're like, I don't want to say anything anymore. Glenn might kick us. So like, so but yeah, that was the only time I've ever seen him angry outside of, Mafia or Pusoy Dos or just my random annoying of him kind of stuff. So.
All right, so guys, I actually have a story. It's actually a great memory, kind of, and yet it's not. I think it might have been the time where Glenn actually figured out that he was sick. It was the day of our wedding rehearsal.
Oh.
Sorry for our kid crying.
Yeah, we're the bad parents that kept him up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But Glenn actually, he was one of my best men at the wedding, and he showed up on Friday at the wedding rehearsal, and he was the only one missing actually, and we were wondering what happened to him because we had called him and he said he was on his way. It turned out the whole time that we were in the church, he was actually sick in the parking lot, and we didn't realize that he was out there until we came out. And when he saw us coming, he apologized, and we were like, what happened? And he's like, oh, I've been sick, and someone told us there was a guy sick in our parking lot. And so we went to check, and I had told him, like, hey man, you know what, it's fine, you should probably go see a doctor. Do you want to ride, take you to the hospital, or and he's like, no, we're fine, what'd I miss? And we just told him, and I told him if he wanted to miss our wedding, it would be okay. And Glenn, being the kind of guy he is, he was like, no, I'll be there for you. He put himself second to everybody else. He was like, you know what, I said I would do this, and I will, and it's you and Ira, and I'll be there. And he showed up the next day at our wedding, and he was still sick, but I think that's the time where he realized. After that, he went to the doctor, and I think his kidneys were already failing then.
Yeah, it was around that time. Yeah.
And I felt really sad, but I mean, that's the kind of guy Glenn was, that he would put others ahead of himself. I mean, I think if that were me, I'd probably be more like, forget you guys, I gotta go take care of myself. But that wasn't Glenn. So, and I was going back through our pictures, and I found a few. I don't know if I could send them to you so you can add to the video or anything, but they're him in his suit at our wedding, and even though he's sick, he still has a smile on his face, and he's being part of the whole celebration and taking part of everything. And yeah.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Percy.
Yeah.
All right, so I've been holding off just because mainly it's been kind of crazy on my end, just trying to process it. For me, Kuya Glenn he came into our lives, I know when I was in a transitional phase. This was like maybe teenage years when my father passed away, and I was still kind of like just new to the whole experience. And so just meeting him at a young age was great. He had nothing but, I mean, he brought everything I could need at that time. He was there for all the youth group activities. He was always just by my side, like college, when we got married, and for me it hit home because it was, I mean, when I heard the news, the first thing I did was I went to Shalene and said, like, he's been at every big moment, and it's for me it was kind of like I was just in shock, and I took a second to process it, and like thought about everything, and then just thought about how, like, I know it's been a minute since I've talked to him, or just anybody as a matter of fact, but like with him, I always knew that like I could just give him a hug and just kind of grin, and just be like, and that was it. It wasn't even like like a shallow exchange of like, hey, how's everything? It's just kind of like just a look, like, it's, everything's good, everything's all right, and it's life, and we're just getting through it. But going back to like the funny side of things, which is what I have a lot of memories of that I can't like exclude. But the funny thing that I remember about Cree Glen was we would always play basketball. You guys have to remember, I think it was like Saturdays or Sundays, we would get together for basketball, and he would always play some kind of slow jam in his car. It was
like, yeah.
Not Ribbon in the Sky.
It's either like Voiceman,
Ribbon in the Sky.
Yeah. All for
and
one.
music and music box. What do you call it? The Mariah Carey song, Dream Lover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Music box, yeah.
So you're like in this mode to play ball or hoop or whatever, you're just like getting high, just like picking everybody up, and then you get in and it's like all for one playing.
Remember that? I swear.
Like driving, and you're like debating whether to react, like, "Hey man, how's it going?" Or like, you're like waiting for him.
A bunch of dudes in the car.
I know.
And it was like, it was always funny seeing that stuff. But even like, as I got older, like throughout like the CI years, it was always just a hang with him. And even like, I remember in like post-college years, I went out and visited him once, and we just caught up like briefly, and it felt like a hang. And even like recently, like at Uncle Ding's memorial, even at like my mom's memorial, I remember seeing him, and we stepped out of the room and we just kind of sat down like in the room next to where my mom was, and we just hung like for like a good half an hour. It's just he and I just kind of talked about everything. And the thing that sucks is like he's always very vague about how he was doing, so you never really knew what was up. I mean, I'd step up and say, "Hey, how's your health going?" And he would just say, "Yeah, it's going," and that was pretty much it. He'd kind of like leave you to check. But he'll be missed. For me, it's never Glenn. It's always Kuya Glenn. Like,
yeah,
no matter what, I could never take that out of his name because I've always looked at him that way. So, not physically, but in spirit, he's always there with me.
Hi everyone. It's kind of like what Kuya John said. It's so cool to see everyone here on the screens and kind of think back to like those times, just being young kids, part of the youth group, and having like the Grays, Kevs, Tej, even like Marnell leading us, young kids. And one of the things I remember, well, three things that I remember about Kuya Glenn is the crying thing. So like, even when he's liturgist, which is literally logistics, there's no passion needed in being a liturgist. And everyone, please turn to page 328. I'm like, oh wow, really? It's like, whoa, that was early, and that was awesome.
Like we started having bets or something like that. Like how quick is Glenn gonna cry?
And then the competitiveness. So like the passion of like, especially when he talks about Lakers or if he's playing basketball. I remember the one time when we hung out at their place for like a youth gathering, and then they had like a small court like in the front of their house. Yeah. And I remember like playing against him, and we were young. And I remember he like shot a three, like, and I was guarding him, and it went in, and then he's like, "That's in your face." Whoa. Someone really wants to win.
Was that
That was before your growth spurt
like,
too, right?
Double.
Sorry.
Remember I was doing that? I was like, whoever does a half court shot or something.
Oh, yeah.
Gets a double.
That's after Sunday. That was on Sundays.
Yeah. I think
But Albert,
won those.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he was like so into it. That was like, that shocked me at first. I was, I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is, when I look back at it, I'm going to do that to every youth.
But that was also before you grew, right, Albert? I remember when you were like short too. It was
like I remember, like he was not very big or athletic.
No, it was Albert was like 13 and Glenn was like 20.
And that shot was by the sidewalk. Your pointer at his house is by the sidewalk. Got you by the sidewalk.
Yeah, dude, that was crazy. And then, like, I think one of the lasting things that I remember, and it's always stuck with me, is just his kindness and his generosity. Like that, that's one of the things that he's always been kind of known as in my life. Like whenever I think of him, and even always seeing the importance in my community, like keeping all of us together. I remember CI's, he would be very intentional about looking for those like in the Rosewood like youth who were kind of just standing on their own or like kind of not talking to anyone, and he'd be the first one to go there and be like, hey, come on, let's, what's up, let's talk. Or, he's always willing to draw people in because he knew how important that was. I just look back at that like so fondly, and I know that he's left that kind of legacy in all of our lives. So I just really love and appreciate how like just the person that he was, but what everyone else was saying, how selfless and just how much he cared truly about everyone. Yeah.
Even growing up, not growing up in Rosewood, like Shalene and I in Wilshire, he always made a way, like in like being at CI, to always listen and generally ask, how are you? I truly, Kuya Glenn was the epitome of a Kuya. And he didn't have to be blood related. And it's very interesting. We ran into Kristen Belling 2 days ago. And she said the same exact thing, that she whenever she thought of a Kuya, it was him. And he was the only one that I wasn't not allowed or not annoyed with him calling me Chris. I never liked that. But then,
I just called you that?
He really called you Chris?
Yeah.
Who told me Chris? No, my name's Christine. But he was just always so kind. And like, granted, his past few years of his life, he couldn't physically serve or do something, but I feel like he's such a legend in that, with his generosity and with his kindness. And then everyone here is saying that he put others first. Yeah. And that's how they know him as, not because of the ailment that took over his life. That's not what defined him. Yeah, it didn't define him. So I think that's such a beautiful thing, like with what Erm said, he may not physically be here, but just even to inspire us to be that kind of person. He truly had a blessed life, I think, because he got to serve and love all of us here and many, many, many more.
Yeah, he left such a powerful legacy.
Well, I mean, like we had that conference call right before this one with the CI people, and the sentiment and the messages being shared is exactly the same. They were sharing about how Kuya Glenn was the first one to talk to them at camp, kind of stuff, and he, just talks about his generosity, his altruism, his ability to just stay in the moment with you. Like when you're talking to him, when you have those one-on-one, heart-to-heart talk with him, you feel like there's nobody else in the world. Like he's like focused on you and how he can help you. There's many times he and I would have conversations would annoy the crap out of me because I just want him to take my side and not give me anybody else's perspective. But he would always give me other people's perspective, and then that would always make me. I think that would make me better, you know, because it's good to see other sides of things, right? It annoyed me, but he wasn't. He knows that I respect him enough that no matter what side he takes on my argument, that I will always love him and I'll always respect him. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just wonderful to hear that same sentiment over and over again.
I think the last time I went to his room, the CI-98 diskette is still on the table. Everybody remember? You guys know what that is? A diskette. So he would be the registrar, and he left it on his table. I think it's still there to this day. When I saw it last, it's a CI-98 diskette.
Diskette.
It's not even a CD, or even a USB. It's a diskette. Like 32 megs, I think.
That's actually pretty big for a diskette.
And now that I'm seeing,
3.2. 3.2.
I did want to share, now that I'm seeing a lot of you together, one of the things that Glenn enjoyed talking to me about was who got together with whom. So that always fascinated him. And it's just, how do you think that happened? I'm like, I don't know, Glenn, it just happened, right? So he always enjoyed that, because I think he really liked seeing people fall in love or get together. But he would always ask my perspective, and he would, I think with my brothers, he called me right away when he first heard, who was dating who. Well, I want to know what you think. And I said, what do you mean what I think? Are you okay with this? I'm like, oh my goodness.
Drama, dude. Look at him. He's starting drama.
Yeah, I know. That was just Glenn, but he just enjoyed seeing people get together that he knew, that he loved. So great.
I think for me, I think just seeing Kuya Glenn at Mom's funeral, at the viewing, just kind of painted this whole picture of who he was throughout his lifetime. The fact that he always showed up, he always marked his words, and he always promised that he would always be there for others. And when I just saw him being there for our mom, just visiting and checking up on us, that just humbled me, made me realize, wow, this guy, was really not well, but ultimately with the real mindset to show up and show us support, just exemplify who he is and who he was, just out of full unconditional love and just support, But that was Kuya Glenn, for all of us, I think.
Did anybody who hasn't spoken or want to share? I see some people like, I don't know if Arco, you can talk.
Sure, I can go.
Oh,
Hey,
great,
guys.
Arco. How's your mom?
She's okay.
Oh,
Always working, but she's all right.
She's a baller. She's got a Model X.
It's good seeing all you guys. Yeah, I just
Good
remember
seeing you,
Glenn. Yeah, Chris. I see him all the time now. Glenn just was always one to instill community and just deep relationship. And I remember after I'd moved to Lakewood from LA, and I wasn't going to Rosewood as much, and then I was still like just starting in youth group and such, and I don't know, I wanted to keep coming, but I was always shy, especially because my dad had passed like just recently from that point on, and I don't know, I was just kind of in my own place, and he had reached out and wanted to bring me into the group, and just made me feel welcome. And even when it was hard for me physically to make it over because I didn't have a license, he and Tej and a bunch of other people would just come over and pick me up and bring me over. And they literally just brought me to church and made it so that way, like, I was a part of all you guys, and yeah, it was neat when he would see me over the years and say like, hey, you know, you're doing a good job. You've grown up, and um, those were simple words. He didn't need to say much. That's what Cody Glenn was all about, and his words were just so full of value. And just hearing like he had believed in me, and he saw that he was proud of who I'd become, and it meant a lot. So I don't know. I think it was him, and along with all you guys, that let me have that same value of wanting to just pass it on to the next generation and wanting to care for others. And it was cool to go to CI. It was cool to be a counselor. It was cool to continue on. And yeah, one story I remember is he had picked me up for a Bible study one time, and I think he had just gotten his car and he had GPS in it, and he was all cool and he was showing it off. And then we just got to the house and he's like, "Oh, it's this house. It's the green one." And I said, "Oh, it shows you the color too?" He's like, "No, I've been here." Yeah. But yeah, just one of those like really simple stories of just him and his gear, and always just taking care of us. So yeah, he'll be missed.
Anybody else?
I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Oh, Shalene there.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
A little bit. Yeah, we can hear you.
It's a little low, but yeah.
Now?
Yes. Oh, the fancy microphone.
No. Um, so, yeah, like what everyone was saying, I think he was the ultimate kuya. And I know he wasn't really that far of age-wise with, you know, Kevin and Grave and everyone else. I don't want to age. Maybe Teach.
Teach is the oldest.
Wow.
All right, I will show my license right now. All right, let's see if anyone else is willing to do it from my crew. Huh? I didn't think so.
The way I was able to distinguish and differentiate, you know, the generations of Rosewood, because like Christine, we came from Wilshire, and then we came into Rosewood, that hierarchy. But it was either I saw you or I met you as a counselor, as a camper, or you were Kuya Glenn. So he really seemed to have everything put together compared to everyone else. And not saying that, you know, that we were not aiming high enough, but he had it straight. You know, he seemed to be pretty serious compared to a whole lot of you guys. So much more matured, right? Like he had that very calm, serious tone in him every time, you know, you talk to him. So he was really friendly. So one of the memories that I have of him is, it's crazy because I don't have that, you know, humorous memory, but I was just telling Irma, I was like, I can't, every time I hear his name, I would think about our code BP, because he was the first one who explained to me that BP stood for British Petroleum.
Oh.
And then later on it was Better Petroleum. So he explained that to me. I don't know why that just, like, you know, stood out. Maybe because I always pass by a gas station, and then I was like, he told me. Anyway, so that's one memory, and the other memory is during one of the hangs that we have at Rosewood. Everyone was just in awe of how set he is in life, right? Like, I think they were asking about, you know, so you must be like making, you know, you probably have like 6 figures in your savings now, and this was back in early 2000s. And then someone asked, I don't know who asked, but he said, so what is your credit score?
I knew he was going to talk about that.
Yeah,
I think it was Christian.
Everyone.
I'm trying to compete with my credit score with him.
Yeah, I know Christian always talked about how Glenn's score was perfect, or like over 800 or something.
I think he's the only one that has a 900.
Exactly.
So
everyone
does that even exist?
No, it doesn't. That's the point.
Yeah, so we all, I think, you know, the general consensus is he is that guy who somehow had everything set and, you know, was ahead of our time. So I know right now he's, you know, better place, free of pain, and he's been waiting for a while to be pain free. So,
I mean, just to kind of add to, oh, I'm sorry, Shalene. I thought you were done.
I'm done.
Just to add, like at the last like video chat that we had, somebody was saying like Queen Glenn had like an old soul, and you know, dude, he came out 35. You know,
and he wore a vest. He always wore a vest.
So he came out 35. He always dressed like a dad, you know, kind of stuff. So it's like,
he tried to convince us to buy vests.
So I mean, yeah, but yeah, you're right. I mean, he was super organized, right?
Yeah.
Like when he discovered the label maker, that like he labeled everything in his car. I think there was a label on his car that said car, you know, and
seatbelt and Catalina
and a steering wheel, you know, kind of stuff. So it's like, Glenn, somebody's got to steal. Somebody's got to hide your label, man. The label maker.
Hey, Glenn.
So, like on his, you know, like his automatic window on the Camry, he would put down and up. So we know how to like push the button or pull the button. And I'm like, Glenn, it's like it's a 50-50 shot, man. If they got the wrong one, it's not that hard to go the other way, bro. It's okay. We don't need a label for this. You know, it's easier. I'm like, all right, whatever. It's your car. Your car. So yeah, no, he came out 35. I'm just saying right now. So
I think he's actually Tita Fred's brother.
I like going to meetings or when Glenn's there because they know I'm not the oldest. I just point at him.
Those are crazy. So I think, yeah, I mean, that's just the thing with Glenn is just everybody just, you know, we all felt like, you know, he's somebody that we can lean on and rely on and be you know, be ourselves and just be real with him, you know, and he will never judge you. He will never make you feel anything less than, you know, and unless you're playing basketball with him. But yeah, you know, but he'll never make you feel anything less than somebody who has extreme value and that he saw you in that extreme value. So
yeah.
Does anybody have anything else they want to share? Aki.
Hey,
Hello.
Aki. Wow.
There you
Sorry,
are.
Hey, Ox.
I'm at work.
Oh,
So,
okay. I was wondering.
I'm in a webinar, so
Oh, wow.
just wanted to jump out. No, Glenn, it you know, it hit me when I saw the news. But it's one of the things that I always remember was my mom would always be like, Glenn can do this, or I was always like, oh my gosh, like Glenn, like everyone said, like Glenn was set, right? And my mom's like, okay, you got to do this, and you got to do that, you know, call Glenn or use him as an example. But you know, like you guys said, you know, everyone's been saying it. You know, Glenn was an example of what kindness looked like here on Earth. I mean, he was just a super nice guy, and I remember when we played basketball that when Albert got yelled at. So it's and I like that about it. I like the competitive nature.
He was so perfect. So I'm glad that there's a flaw.
He's really such a, you know, we will miss him. I know I haven't, you know, I haven't been in touch with anybody, especially since moving, but you know, it's really nice to see everybody, and unfortunately it's under these circumstances, but obviously Glenn was, we all looked up to him, whether or not you were his contemporary or the ones following him. So we will miss him, and but yeah, I have to kind of just jump back into this webinar, but it's really nice to see everybody.
Nice to see you too, brother.
Good to see you too. Yeah, I totally forgot how much basketball we played until like everybody reminded me. And I was like, and how competitive Glenn was, because Yeah, there's a lot of really fun times when we used to just go to the park and just play or have the radio on with like with the playoffs going, and most of the people cheering for the Lakers, and I wasn't, but it's just like it's just so many great times, just
I forgot how many slow jams we listened to growing up.
Yeah, a lot.
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit, dude. I remember that now. Holy jeez.
Can someone put that on Spotify? Like a
I know.
Glenn playlist.
And then just text it everybody.
I'll put ribbon to this guy. I'll put ribbon to this guy, Joanne, just for you. So
Jocelyn, he loves Jocelyn Enriquez. I actually
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Jocelyn Enriquez.
You can call it the
And then Jeremiah,
basketball hype playlist.
I remember like Glenn was telling me that he wanted to get like a rap CD, right? And then so he was really disappointed when he bought the CD Drumline. And I'm like, what did you expect, man?
Drumline soundtrack.
This thing is just Drumline? And so I was like, Nick Carter? No,
Nick Cannon.
Nick Cannon. Sorry, like Nick Cannon? No, you're not gonna get any hardcore rap like that. So it's like you're better off with Nick Carter. You're right, Glenn, Kevin. You're better off with Nick Carter. But it's like he was so angry. Like Drumline was not more of a hardcore rap CD. I'm like, what'd you expect, homie? So.
No, I think the last time we all hung out, like the old school group, was we watched Rex Navarrete at the Wiltern.
LA.
I remember we didn't even go home till like 5 a.m. I told my mom. I was with my mom at that time. Like, hey, I was with Glenn. Okay.
Did you get in trouble?
Okay.
No,
because he's with Glenn.
Lisa in the trunk.
And then we went to Huntington Beach after.
Lisa in the trunk.
I know, like
Oh.
Lisa, we were. I mean, see, that's how that's how good of a guy Glenn is. Like, if a cop pulled him over and Lisa was in the trunk, they're like, "Oh, you guys are just playing." Like he's just such a good. He's got like nothing bad, like no bad bone in his body except when he plays basketball. But yeah, I mean, I remember that. Like we, like 5 a.m. kind of stuff. So, but then when I came home, like, what took you guys? Like, I was with Glenn. Oh, okay, that's fine.
No questions asked.
No questions asked. So. Now I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know how we're gonna be able to hang out.
No, we got lectured a couple of times.
Right. Until
by Auntie Nyla.
So, yeah. So that was that. So
We got no excuse anymore.
I know we can't get out. We can't go out anymore. So that annoyed him like so much that we always use him as an excuse. It annoyed him a lot. So
Even if it was a lie.
So,
are there others?
Well, I have a memory. Well, I shared before, but
yeah,
this is one of the last conversations I actually had with Cleveland, where he texted me randomly about a movie he saw, and it's called The Shack.
Yeah, The Shack.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys seen that, if you haven't, it's about this one guy's relationship with God and how God can be. God is what you need him to be when you need him there, And it's just so crazy because it's like, everything what's going on in the world, end of 2019 and now 2020, it's like I met Quee Glenn when he was teaching me about God and introduced me to God. And even at the end, he was still teaching me about God. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like it's so crazy because when that morning when I found out Quee Glenn passed away, I had a dream about my grandma who passed away earlier this year. And my grandma was always scared, always scared of being alone. And I guess for me, I'm never really sure what happened. You have an idea, you have faith that things are going to be okay when you pass. But after just me worrying about my grandma since she was always scared, I just kind of was concerned. And the dream was that my grandma, she didn't have to say anything, but she just gave me a hug in the dream. And so I know she's okay. You know what I mean? And so when I found out Kuya Glenn passed, I know he's okay now too. You know what I mean? I'm not scared for him anymore. I'm not scared for my grandma anymore. And so I feel like he introduced God to me. Well, all you guys did in different ways, but like he was my first counselor at CI. And one of our last conversations was that he was still teaching me about God, you know? So I think that's just so crazy. Like it just comes full circle. And so I'm really just happy that I have that experience with him, you know? Yeah, that's it.
Wanted to make sure we captured everybody that wanted to speak.
I'll share.
There you are, Kristen.
Yeah,
Yay.
hi everyone. So I can't remember exactly when, but I think one of the last conversations I had with Kuya Glenn was during I mean, I'm still in grad school, but I'm at grad school at UC Santa Cruz. And the times that I visited him when his health was declining, he would always ask me, like, have you gone to the mystery spot at Santa Cruz? And so it's this place that has a gravitational anomaly. And when I heard the news that he passed, I was just sad. Like, I'm like, oh, I still haven't gone. And it's like now, like more than ever, like I really need to go, but of course we can't go out to places. And so I have like more motivation now, like before graduating, getting out of Santa Cruz to like go visit that place. And, you know, one day in heaven, I'll get to tell him like how it was finally.
Yeah, he's been telling me about that movie, The Shack, for a while now. And I thought, yeah, I'll get it. I just downloaded it right now, so I'll watch it later. But, yeah. You know what? It took him forever to watch Shakespeare in Love, okay? I'm a few months behind. He can wait.
When he told me about it, I was like, I already saw it, right? So he told me about it, and then I was like, oh, I've seen it. And he's like, how come you didn't tell me about it? I was like...
Oh, yeah, he'll get mad at you for that.
You know, one of the things I realized, you know, Glenn doesn't ask for help, but one time he did. He reached out to me because when he started dialysis and he had heard that I had become vegan and I became healthy. And so he was talking about the magic bullet and him wanting to buy it. And I was like, Glenn, okay, so first of all, you can put whatever in a blender or whatever. Just, I know you can't have potassium. And so Steve and I were trying to give him recipes, but it was this like 2-week long process of him analyzing whether or not he should get a magic bullet. He eventually did. And so later on, when I checked on him about it, he says, well, I started using it, but not really. So but that was just Glenn for you. But that was the only time I can remember him asking me for assistance of any kind. But he was trying to get healthy, I guess. That's what he was saying. And he goes, well, what if I ate like you? And I sent him over a whole regimen. And I guess that was too hard for him, for a lot of people. But it's just amazing how Glenn doesn't ask for much help. And that was one moment I was able to help him.
Glenn joined my Filipino martial arts school at one point. And
you look like Mulan.
What?
Yeah, he joined my Filipino martial arts school, and not my business, but like my teacher's school. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I never, you know, I mean, I talked to you guys about it, but I never, you know, asked you guys if you want to join, because, you know, if you want to join, just let me know. But so Glenn goes, hey, I want to check this out. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, well, let me loan you some sticks so that you don't have to buy. No, I'll buy a pair. It's fine. And you know what? Let me buy the armor. And he bought everything from it because he wants to be financially committed to it. I'm like, Glenn, if you need to be financially committed to martial arts, then martial arts not for you, brother. It's just, he's like, no, it's just, I know me. I'm going to commit to this if I bought all the stuff that I need. Okay. He went to one class after he bought all the stuff, right? And then I ended up buying the gear from him like years later because it's just sitting in his closet. And it's this giant hockey bag that, from the ground up. Like, Percy, you played hockey, right? So, like, you know how big those hockey bags are. So, yeah, so I ended up buying it from him, and then he wanted to sell it to me at full price. I'm like, you're smoking crack, man. I ain't paying $20, you know? Like, are you crazy? I paid like $400 for that. Okay, I'll give you $25 then. You know, he's like, no, you know what? I don't want to sell it. I'm like, okay, can I just borrow it? Yeah, you can borrow it. Yeah, no, I never gave it back to him. So after many years later, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna send you $25 because I paid for the armor already. He goes, yeah, that's fine. He's like, but yeah, so he's just quirky, man. He's just quirky. So
he did wear it, and he took a picture.
There's a picture. Yeah, I remember the picture. Yeah,
he looks like Mulan.
Yeah,
that's like one of the coolest photos of him.
That's the only time he wore that was that photo. So he never wore, because like he only went to one class. Of course, my teacher's not gonna let him fight in the armor. He doesn't know how to defend himself yet. There's no way that's gonna happen.
He'll probably tip over.
Probably. So yeah, so that was so funny. I still have the armor, so now I'm gonna have to immortalize it. So
look for that picture though. Post that picture when he was posting outside. He looks like he worked at like a P.F. Chang. like the armor of P.F. Chang.
So Ian just got on. Hi, Ian.
Hey, Ian.
You want to share something about your Kuya Glenn?
I think the last time I saw when I really hung out with Kuya Glenn was with my sister. We took him to CPK for lunch, and we were just talking about life and all that. And at that time, I didn't know I only thought he had like the kidney problems. Then he told us he had the heart problem too. But every time we hung out with Kuya Glenn, it was really fun hanging out with him. I always remember I could use Ate Grace's name, his, and Mom Kevin's name to get out of trouble. Or not even trouble, just out with you. And, you know, your parents would call you, like, where are you at? And you're like, oh, I'm with Kuya Glenn. I'm like, okay, click.
I know, right?
And that's it.
That's all you need, man.
That was the best, best days. Like, I don't even know if, like, Sam and the other youth members got a chance to use his name like that. But I remember that the most.
I think if I use everyone's name here, my grandma was cool with it.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not me, man. We're like, no, not with that guy. And I wouldn't blame her. I actually wouldn't blame her.
Notice no one's saying anything, TJ.
Nobody ever uses TJ as a way to hang out with your parents. So give your parents an excuse to hang out with anybody. So
don't use mine. Mine's even worse.
Yeah, I think Christian's is worse.
It's either you're in jail or prison.
My wife uses Christian's name all the time. My wife hangs out with Christian more than I do. So, yeah, because they work together. They work in a similar area.
Oh, okay.
She curses at me all the time.
What does she do, Chris?
Yeah. Oh, she's doing great. She's downstairs.
Oh no, what does she do? Is she like?
Oh, what does she do? She does homeless outreach. She works for Hopix. Christian was the one who actually got her a job.
So. Oh, you work at Hopix? Oh, that's okay. Wait, we got to stop recording if we're going to talk about other things. So anyway,
no.
Yeah.
No.
Does anybody else want to share?
I just have like a really short story about.
Oh, go ahead.
But I'm part of like the younger. I was like in the youth, and when I was in the youth, everyone here was like, you know, the young adults. So everyone here is like my.
Shut up! Sorry. Shut the hell up.
We had a lot of events when we were in the youth, and we would always ask the young adults if they could be chaperones or if they could drive, or, you know, if they could be at the lock-ins. And Kuya Glenn always said yes. Like he was at every event we went to, he would chaperone every single event. I remember there's one event we went to. We actually had a weekend in Big Bear, and it was kind of crazy. So the first day up, we didn't. Yeah, we should have checked the weather, but we didn't. And there was a blizzard like on the way up. So most of us made it up, but there was one car that didn't, and it was Kuya Glenn's car, and his car had all the food. So had no food to drive off of bicycles, and then we were leaving on Sunday, and that Sunday was like really nice and sunny and like beautiful. And then Kuya Glenn came up with
all the food
on that Sunday, and he actually like didn't even like leave the mountain. I think he stayed like at a hotel or something.
Yeah, he didn't even get up to the cabin. Yeah.
Yeah, so he technically didn't leave us, you know, like instead of going home and being like, bye guys, like you have to figure it out. He stayed there and came up Sunday with all the food with like 2 dozen worth of eggs, and like, yeah, he was always there. He was always there for us.
I remember like Kuya Glenn always being like the stricter Kuya, because with everyone else, like everyone else was so goofy, but Kuya Glenn would kind of always put us in our place because like that's the Kuya that he is with us. And so like it's just like really funny when you guys talk about how competitive he is, because like you definitely see that in his like personality. Like especially like when you get lectured or you when you get in trouble, like you're kind of like, oh gosh, like no, not from Kuya Glenn. Like from everyone else, it's like, oh, it's fine, but like if it's from Kuya Glenn, okay.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty
That's
bad.
bad.
I think
Yeah,
when
usually.
I think of like a super Kuya, because I'm like, oh, if I'm like semi afraid of you, but also like super respect you, then I'm like, okay, like you know.
Wasn't he screaming in the mountain when you guys took him to Mammoth, and he ran out of water, and he started screaming water, water in the middle of the snow. What is snowboarding? Or
What is
Pismo?
that? That was.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
Or Pismo Beach. That's why he has a scar on his forehead
Oh,
because the
Pismo
ATV
Beach.
flipped,
Yeah, that was.
flipped on him too, and he hit the handlebar on his forehead.
I know he didn't he fall?
Yeah, that's why it's scarred. It's
No, I fell.
You fell. Okay, that's right.
The second time we went to Pismo Beach with Glenn, he fell.
Oh, yeah. No,
That's why the scar right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, in college, we would go to Pismo. We went more than a couple times, and we'd do ATVing. And Glenn was really
he's really good at it.
He was a daredevil. Yeah. And so I played follow the leader with Glenn.
Yeah.
So he was jumping dunes like at full throttle. And he would do these like
crazy turns.
Pretty much straight up 90 degrees. So I was doing my best to follow him. So like so the last cliff, he basically gunned it and he barely made it over. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. And he looks back and he's like, come on, Kev. That's when it happened. So I went up the dune and I went almost to the top and I was like, oh.
And then he flipped over.
There.
And then, so I remember that because like all of a sudden, because if you ever been to Pismo Beach, it's sand, right?
Yeah.
And the ATV was on top of Kevin. And so I'm like, so he's sinking into the sand. So I'm like, I jumped out of my ATV to try to run and help him, but it's sand. So my feet are sinking into like the ground. And I'm like, Kevin, Kevin. And he's like, and he just pushes the ATV off of him. And I'm like, dang, dude, I was so scared. I thought, oh man, Auntie Nyla's gonna kill me. Oh my God, I killed his son. Oh, this can't be good. You know, kind of stuff. So yeah, no, but yeah, Glenn was and I remember like, because this is when it was you, me, and Grace and Glenn, of course. We were going to Pismo the first time I went. He had his Camry, right?
Yeah.
And then we had to go over we had to go like to the beach itself, and then the people are like, dude, your car's not gonna make it. And we're like, no, the Camry will make it, okay? Because it's the Camry. All right, this Camry has done this is a miracle Camry. Okay, and he made it. It was perfectly fine. We were able to get to the ATVs and it was a blast. So because but then the second time I took we went it was for my 27th birthday. Yeah, that's when he fell. So I'm like, whoa.
Did he drive us to Mexico, or did I drive?
No, I drove. We took 2 cars.
Okay, I don't
I
remember
drove
who
and Kevin drove. So it was a 2 cars. So
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't drive.
I remember he got pissed when he found out you could haggle at the La Bufadora. So like, cause like he bought something for like $10 for like 1 item, and I bought like 20 items for $10. And he was pissed because he didn't know he could do that. And I'm like, why didn't you try? You know, so he was upset with that. So yeah, we had so much adventures. You know, when we were talking with Ricardo Chrysales, he was talking about how when we all went to Seattle back in the day, and you know, he was saying that we went up there to help them put the CI together. I'm like, we did?
No, you did it.
I don't know. I don't remember we did anything like that. I think we just had fun. So yeah. I mean, I'm just glad we have a lifetime of memories with him. You know, I'm just glad that we have a lifetime of stories and you know, as sad as we all are, is because that's how big of an impact he has made in each and every one of our lives, and the hole that he's leaving in each of our hearts. You know, I mean, as much as this sucks being sad, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything. It's just that I had him in my life. I'm grateful and I'm blessed regardless. You know, so Lawrence said thank you for you know, being friends with his kuya, and I said no, we're the blessed ones. We're the lucky ones. You know, and I told him thank you for sharing your brother with all of us. So it's I'm gonna miss him.
I think everybody had an opportunity to share. I know it's late. Some of you are early birds, so we don't want to keep you. You're welcome to stay on if you want to, but I didn't want people to feel obligated to stay on longer. Some of you have kids, so it's different now.
I know of. So.
Before we go, does anybody want to close this? Well, I'm going to stop recording